My name is Joanna Frell, and I am 31 years old. I am standing at Gate B-17 inside Magee Tyson Airport in Knoxville, Tennessee. It is 5:14 in the morning. My grandmother, Hazel, is beside me, both hands wrapped around the handle of a leather suitcase that belonged to my grandfather. 11 members of my family are scattered around us, checking boarding passes, adjusting carry-ins, scrolling phones. My dad turns to my grandmother. He does not lower his voice. "Mom, I forgot to book your ticket. Just go home." 11 people hear it. The gate agent behind the counter hears it. An elderly couple waiting in line turns to look. My grandmother opens her plastic boarding pass holder. There is nothing inside but a printed itinerary with no confirmation number. She closes it. She does not cry. What my dad did not know, what none of them knew, was that those 3 weeks would cost him everything he had taken. Not because I planned it, but because silence has a way of making the truth very, very loud. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, the channel where real family stories unfold with honesty, dignity, and the kind of quiet strength that changes everything. If this is your first time here, drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. Now, let me tell you how we got to that airport gate. My grandmother taught 3rd grade at Mville Elementary for 34 years. She retired at 65. She raised 2 children, my dad Richard and my Aunt Diane, completely alone after my grandfather Earl died of lung cancer 18 years ago. She never remarried, never even dated. She said Earl was the only man stubborn enough to love her right. Hazel lives in the same house Earl bought in 1981, a 3-bedroom ranch on a quiet street in Mville, Tennessee, about 45 minutes south of Knoxville. She keeps the yard tidy. She goes to church on Sundays. She wraps birthday presents in newspaper because she thinks wrapping paper is a waste. My grandmother is the kind of woman who irons her napkins, the kind who sends thank you cards the same day she receives a gift. She built a life on discipline and routine, and she saved every spare dollar for 22 years because she believed leaving something behind for her family was the most important thing she could do. But lately, her house looked different. The porch railing was loose. The gutters were sagging. The kitchen faucet dripped into a bowl she kept in the sink overnight. Her thermostat was set low even in December. She wore the same 3 sweaters in rotation and told me she just preferred them. I asked my dad about it once. He said, "Mom's fine, she just doesn't like spending money." I believed him. I had no reason not to. My dad managed her finances. He said he checked in on her every other week. He said everything was handled. What I did not understand yet was how carefully he had arranged the word handled. The Europe trip started as an announcement at Thanksgiving dinner. November. 12 of us around my grandmother's dining table. Turkey, cornbread dressing, green bean casserole. My dad stood up with his glass raised. "I've been working on something for the family," he said. 3 weeks in Europe, Rome, Florence, Paris, London, all of us together. The table erupted. Diane's kids pulled out their phones to look up the Colosseum. Brenda, my dad's wife, my stepmom, started talking about shopping in Paris. Greg, Diane's husband, asked about the flight. My grandmother sat at the end of the table. Her eyes were bright. She set down her fork and pressed both hands flat on the tablecloth. "I have never left this country," she said. "Your grandpa always said we would see Paris someday." Dad explained the cost structure. Each household would contribute their share. Flights, hotels, ground transport, roughly $65,000 total for 12 people. He looked at Hazel. "Mom, your share would be about $30,000 from your retirement fund if you want to come." She did not hesitate. "I am 74 years old. If not now, when?" She wrote the check that weekend. $30,000 from the account she had built over 2 decades. That same week, she pulled Earl's old leather suitcase from the hallway closet. It was brown, cracked along one seam, patched with duct tape from a trip to Gatlinburg in 1994. She began packing weeks early. She laid her passport on top of her folded clothes like it was something sacred. My dad smiled when she handed over the check. Something about that smile stayed with me longer than it should have. 5 in the morning, Magee Tyson Airport. December cold still clinging to the parking garage concrete. 12 of us walked into the terminal, dragging luggage, holding coffee, half awake and buzzing. Hazel moved slowly. She leaned on her cane with one hand and pulled Earl's suitcase with the other. She wore her good coat, the navy one she saved for church and funerals. We reached the check-in counter. Names were called off one by one, boarding passes printed. Richard, Brenda, Diane, Greg, the kids, me, Hazel Farrell. The agent typed again, looked up. I don't have a reservation under that name. Hazel opened her plastic boarding pass holder. Inside was a printed itinerary, dates, cities, hotel names, no booking reference, no confirmation number, no ticket. She looked at my dad. He barely glanced at her. Mom, I must have forgotten to book yours. I'm so sorry. He shrugged. Just go home. We'll FaceTime you from Rome. I forgot your ticket. Just go home. He said it the way you cancel a lunch reservation. The way you tell someone the store is closed. Diane looked away. Brenda adjusted her scarf. Greg studied the departure board. Nobody said a word. Nobody said, wait, we can fix this. Nobody said she paid $30,000. The gate agent stared. An elderly couple behind us exchanged a look I will never forget. The woman shook her head just slightly like she recognized something she had seen before. Hazel closed the empty boarding pass holder. She put it back in her purse. Her hands trembled, but her face did not change. I looked at my dad's luggage tag, business class. They walked towards security, all 11 of them. Nobody turned around. My grandmother stood by the departures board with Earl's suitcase at her side. The overhead lights buzzed. A child somewhere was crying. The flight to Rome was on time, gate B17. Boarding in 40 minutes, my boarding pass was in my right hand. I looked at it. I looked at her and I tore it in half. My dad turned. Joe, what are you doing? I'm going home with Grandma. Diane stopped walking. Don't be dramatic. Brenda said it without turning around. Your grandma wouldn't enjoy Europe anyway. She can barely walk. That sentence hit different than my dad's. His was calculated. Hers was careless. I'm still not sure which one was worse. I picked up Hazel's suitcase. It was heavier than it should have been. She had packed everything. 3 weeks of clothes, her reading glasses case, her Bible, a small bag of butterscotch candies she always kept in her purse. We walked to the parking lot together. Nobody followed us. Nobody called out. The automatic doors closed behind us and the December air felt different than it had 20 minutes earlier. Colder, sharper, like waking up. Hazel reached for my hand. Her fingers were thin and cold. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, I did. We drove home in silence. I carried her suitcase inside. She sat in Earl's chair and stared at the wall. I made tea. She did not drink it. That night I slept in her guest room. The mattress was thin. The furnace rattled every 20 minutes and I lay there in the dark, counting what my dad had done and counting what I was about to do. Morning came gray and cold. I woke up at 6:30 to the sound of a skillet on the stove. Hazel was in the kitchen. She had combed her hair and put on her house slippers. She was making eggs. The cast iron skillet, black, heavy, seasoned with 50 years of use, sat on the front burner. Your grandpa bought this at a flea market in 1973, she said. 50 years and it still cooks better than anything. I sat at the table and looked around. The kitchen had not changed since I was a child, but the details had. The fridge was nearly empty. Eggs, a half-gallon of milk, butter, and a jar of pickles. The medicine bottles lined up on the counter were all generic. I recognized 2 of them. One was for blood pressure, the other for joint inflammation. Both cheaper alternatives to the name brands she used to take. The thermostat on the wall read 62 degrees in December. Grandma, when's the last time Dad came by? She cracked an egg into the skillet. Oh, he checks on me, picks up the mail. He picks up your mail. He said it's easier, something about identity theft. I ate breakfast. I washed the dishes. I dried the skillet and hung it back on its hook. Then I walked to the front door and looked at the mail slot. The basket underneath was stuffed with catalogs and junk. Bed Bath & Beyond, a lawn care flyer from 2023. But no bank statements, no financial documents, no account summaries. Nothing from Social Security, nothing from the bank, not one. 7 years of working in geriatric care had taught me to notice things that were missing before I noticed things that were wrong. Loretta Sims lived next door. She was 68, widowed, retired from the county clerk's office, and the kind of neighbor who noticed everything and said nothing unless you asked. I asked. She came by that afternoon with a casserole wrapped in foil. Hazel had gone to lie down. She was tired in a way that went deeper than sleep. Loretta and I sat on the porch. The air was damp. Down the street, someone had already put up Christmas lights. "I've been worried about Hazel," Loretta said. She kept her voice low. "She used to go to Cracker Barrel every Friday with the church ladies. Stopped about 2 years ago. Said she couldn't afford it." "Couldn't afford Cracker Barrel?" Loretta shook her head. "And your daddy comes by every other Tuesday. Takes the mail from the box before Hazel even gets up. I see him from my kitchen window." I felt something tighten in my chest. "He goes inside, never in and out in 5 minutes. Grabs the mail, gets back in his truck, doesn't ring the bell, doesn't go inside." She paused. "I don't want to cause trouble, but something's not right. I've known Hazel for 19 years. She used to bring pie to every block party. Last 2 years, she brings nothing, says she's cutting back." I thanked Loretta. I washed the casserole dish. I stood at the kitchen sink and stared out the window at the mailbox until the sun went down. That night, I called Hazel's bank. I identified myself as her granddaughter and asked for account information. "I'm sorry, ma'am. You are not an authorized party on this account. The authorized signer is Richard Frell." The tightening in my chest turned into something else entirely. The filing cabinet was in the spare bedroom. It was beige, dented, and labeled with masking tape. Bills, taxes, medical, personal. I opened the personal drawer. Behind a folder of old Christmas cards and a stack of Earl's obituary copies, I found it. A 6-page document, notarized, dated 5 years ago. Durable power of attorney granting Richard Allen Farrell full financial authority over the accounts, assets, and legal affairs of Hazel May Farrell. "He said it was just in case something happened to me," Hazel said from the doorway. She was leaning on the frame, arms crossed. "So he could pay my bills if I couldn't." I read every paragraph. The language was broad. Access to all bank accounts, authority to redirect mail, authority to change beneficiaries on insurance policies, authority to make withdrawals for the benefit of the principal. "Grandma, do you know your account balances?" She shook her head. "Richard handles that. He says I have plenty." I photographed every page, front and back. I put the document back exactly where I found it and closed the drawer. She watched me. "You think something is wrong?" "I think we need to find out." She sat on the edge of the guest bed. Her hands were folded in her lap. She looked at the floor, then at me. "He's my son, Joanna. I know. You are watching this and you have an aging parent. Ask them right now who has power of attorney. Do they know their own account balances? Can they log into their own bank? Do not wait. Do not assume. Ask, because by the time you notice something is wrong, the damage has already been done." That night, I could not sleep, but I was not confused anymore. Day 4. I called my supervisor at the hospital and requested a week of paid leave. She did not ask why. She said, "Take whatever you need." I started with Social Security. The regional office put me on hold for 41 minutes before a clerk confirmed that Hazel's direct deposit was active, but the receiving account had been rerouted twice in the last 3 years. First from her original savings account to a joint account, then from the joint account to one she had never heard of. "I can't tell you the account details unless you have authorization," the clerk said. I did not have authorization. Richard did, so I asked Hazel. "Can we go to the bank together just to check?" She hesitated. She put her hands on the kitchen table, palms flat, and looked at the window. "Richard said I don't need to go in anymore. He handles it online." "Grandma, it's your money. You have every right to walk into that bank and ask to see your own accounts." She sat with it for a while. I did not push. I made lunch, tomato soup from a can. Grilled cheese in the cast iron skillet. We ate without talking. The fridge hummed. The clock on the wall ticked. After lunch, she stood and went to her bedroom. She came back wearing her navy coat. "Let's go," she said. I drove. She sat in the passenger seat with her purse in her lap, both hands on the clasp. Mville Community Bank was 7 minutes away on a corner near the old hardware store. She had banked there for over 30 years. What we found inside that building made my hands shake. And I am not someone whose hands shake. The branch manager's name was Tina. She was polite, professional, and visibly uncomfortable when she pulled up Hazel's accounts. "Mrs. Farrell, your primary retirement savings account had a balance of $212,000 as of 5 years ago." She turned the screen. "Current balance is $41,600. Hazel leaned forward. "That can't be right." Tina printed the full transaction history. 5 years of withdrawals. I read them with my hands flat on the table so they would stay still. $3,000 here, $5,000 there. $12,000 for home repairs in March of 2022, the same year Hazel's gutter started sagging. $8,000 for medical expenses in August of 2023, a month when Hazel's insurance covered every bill. The Europe trip money was the latest. $30,000 withdrawn 8 weeks ago, labeled travel fund. Over $140,000 gone. Every withdrawal authorized by one name, Richard Farrell. Hazel sat in the vinyl chair. She picked up the printout, read it once, folded it in half, then in quarters. She opened her purse and placed it next to the empty boarding pass holder. She did not cry. She did not raise her voice. She sat perfectly still, the way people do when the world shifts and they need a second to catch up. The branch manager asked if we wanted to file a report with the bank. "Not yet," I said. "We need to see everything first." Drove home. Hazel stared out the passenger window the entire way. She did not speak. She did not turn the radio on. I pulled into the driveway. She put her hand on my arm. "How long?" she said. 5 years, I said, "at least." She unbuckled her seatbelt, got out, walked to the front door, and for the first time since the airport, I saw her hands stop trembling. She went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it, opened it again. She was not looking for food. She was looking at what was missing. "I saved that money for 22 years, she said. Her back was to me. "Started the year after Earl died. Every paycheck, every tax refund, every summer I skipped vacation." She turned around. "I used to calculate it every New Year's Eve, sat at this table with a pencil and a calculator, wrote the total on a piece of paper and put it in the drawer. $212,000. I was proud of that number. Grandma, let me say this." She pulled out a chair and sat. "I trusted him because he is my son. I didn't check because I believed a mother shouldn't have to check on her own child." She paused. "That is the part that hurts." She got up and went to her room. The door closed softly. She did not come out for dinner. I heated Loretta's casserole and ate alone at the kitchen table with the bank printout beside my plate. Column after column, year after year, transaction after transaction, each one stamped with Richard's authorization code, each one pulling from a total that had taken 2 decades to build and 5 years to drain. I washed the dish. I put it on the rack. I sat in the quiet house and listened to the furnace rattle. At 11 that night, Hazel came out of her room. She was wearing her robe and her reading glasses. She sat in the chair across from me. The bank printout was still on the table between us. She folded her hands, looked at me, and she said it simply, without drama, without tears. "Help me fix this, baby." Not revenge, not anger, not make him pay. Fix, restore, reclaim. 5 words that told me exactly who Hazel Farrell was underneath the hurt. "We need a lawyer, Grandma, someone who specializes in this." She nodded slowly. "I don't want Richard in prison. This isn't about prison. It's about getting your money back and making sure he can never take any more." She looked at the bank printout. "Your grandpa would have burned the house down. We are not burning anything. We are going to be smarter than that." She smiled. It was small and tired, but it was real. "Earl always said, 'I married up because he married someone smarter.'" We sat at that table until midnight. I started a list on a yellow legal pad. Bank records, 5 years of statements. POA document photographed. Original still in the filing cabinet. Loretta's testimony. I would ask her to write a statement. Social Security rerouting documented through the phone call. Email access. Hazel's desktop was still logged into the family email hub Richard had set up years ago. Before bed, I texted my colleague Dr. Patel at the hospital. She worked in geriatric medicine and had contacts in every corner of the elder care system. I need a referral. Elder law attorney, East Tennessee. Urgent. She texted back in 3 minutes. Marcus Webb, best in the region. He does not lose. I saved the name, set my alarm for 7. And for the first time in 4 days, I fell asleep before midnight. Not because I felt better, but because I had a plan. And a plan is the first thing that separates grief from action. Day 6. My phone buzzed with a photo notification from the family group chat. Richard's face in front of the Coliseum, arm around Brenda, both of them in sunglasses. Caption, Day 3 in Rome, living the dream. I scrolled. Diane in a designer scarf at the Spanish Steps. Greg and the kids eating gelato on a cobblestone street. Brenda at a wine tasting, holding a glass up to the camera with the Tuscan hills behind her. Richard texted Hazel separately. A Trevi Fountain selfie. Miss you, Mom. Wish you were here. Hazel was sitting in Earl's chair when the text came in. She read it. Then she turned her phone face down on the armrest and went back to her crossword puzzle. She did not reply. I picked up her phone after she went to bed. I opened the group chat and scrolled to the flight confirmation thread from weeks earlier. Richard had shared a screenshot of the booking. 12 names, 12 tickets. I zoomed in. Hazel's name was not on it. It had never been on it. Then I checked the booking details he had forwarded to himself. 3 passengers upgraded to business class. Richard Farrell, Brenda Farrell, Diane Mitchell. Cost per upgrade $4,200. Payment method. Account ending in 7841. Hazel's savings account. They were touring Europe on my grandmother's retirement savings, sipping Prosecco she had been too frugal to buy for herself, sleeping in hotels upgraded with money she thought was sitting safely in her bank. I set the phone down. I opened my laptop, and that was when I found the email that changed everything. Hazel's desktop computer was in a spare bedroom, an old Dell, slow and humming. Richard had set up the family email years ago, a shared hub where he managed household correspondence, forwarded bank notifications, and handled travel bookings. Hazel never used it. She did not know the password. She did not need one. The browser was still logged in. I opened the sent folder, sorted by date. 3 months before the trip, I found it. From Richard Farrell to Diane Mitchell. Subject, trip logistics, the second paragraph. Don't book Mom's ticket, tell her we'll handle it, she won't even notice the money's gone. I read it twice, then a third time. Every word sat in my chest like a stone. She won't even notice the money's gone. Below that, a forwarded chain. Richard to the travel agent. Same week. Upgrade Farrell party 3 seats to business class. Charge to account ending in 7841. Account 7841. The same account. Hazel's savings. I opened the file Hazel kept in her purse. The printed itinerary Richard had given her, the one she had slipped into her plastic boarding pass holder weeks before the trip. It looked legitimate. Dates, cities, hotel names, but no booking reference number, no confirmation code, no airline record locator. A fake designed to make a 74-year-old woman believe she had a seat on a plane that was never hers. I forgot your ticket. He did not forget. He never bought it. The plan was always to leave her standing at that gate. I plugged in a USB drive. I saved every email, every forwarded receipt, every thread. I labeled the folder Evidence and ejected the drive. I closed the laptop and I called Marcus Webb, Day 8, Knoxville. Marcus Webb's office was on the second floor of a brick building near Market Square. Small firm, 4 attorneys, elder law focus. The waiting room had vinyl chairs and a framed print of the Smoky Mountains. Marcus was 48, tall, gray at the temples. He wore a blue tie and reading glasses that he pushed up every few minutes. His desk was neat, a yellow legal pad centered, 2 pens parallel. Hazel sat across from him in her navy coat. I sat beside her. I placed the USB drive, the photographed POA, the bank printout, and Loretta's handwritten statement on his desk. He read everything. 22 minutes of silence while he turned pages and scrolled files. Then he looked at Hazel. Mrs. Farrell, this is textbook financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Tennessee Code Section 71-6-117. He laid out the options. 1. File an emergency petition to revoke the power of attorney. 2. Civil suit for recovery of all misappropriated funds. 3. Referral to Adult Protective Services for a formal investigation. 4. Potential criminal referral to the district attorney. Hazel sat straight. I just want my money back and I want my name on my own accounts. Marcus nodded. We can do that, but your son needs to understand that this is not going away quietly. Paused before we left. Mrs. Farrell, one more question. Do you know who the current beneficiary is on your life insurance policy? Hazel shook her head. Marcus pulled it up on his screen. The beneficiary had been changed 18 months ago. The new sole beneficiary was Richard Allen Farrell. Hazel stared at the screen. She did not blink. She did not speak. Marcus closed the file. We start tomorrow. Days 9 through 12 moved like surgery. Precise, methodical, no wasted motion. Marcus filed the emergency petition to revoke power of attorney on day 9. The motion for temporary restraining order on Hazel's accounts followed the same afternoon. Hazel signed every affidavit at the kitchen table with her reading glasses on and a cup of coffee going cold beside her. The bank cooperated once they saw the court filing. Hazel's accounts were frozen. No withdrawals, no transfers, no changes without a judge's approval. She was listed as the sole authorized party again for the first time in 5 years. Evenings settled into a pattern. I cooked dinner while Hazel reviewed documents at the table. The cast iron skillet stayed on the stove most nights. Grilled chicken, scrambled eggs, fried potatoes with onions. The kitchen smelled like it used to when I was a child. You cook like Earl, Hazel said one night. Heavy on the butter, light on the patience. On day 11, Richard's credit card linked to Hazel's account was declined in Venice. He texted Hazel. Mom, something's wrong with the bank. Can you call them? Hazel showed me the text. I read it. I handed the phone back. Don't respond. She put the phone in the junk drawer next to a roll of masking tape and a flashlight with dead batteries. Day 13. Marcus called. The court had accepted the petition. A hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. Emergency POA revocation was granted immediately pending review. Richard's access to every account, every policy, every document tied to Hazel May Farrell was suspended. He had no idea. He was still in Italy sipping wine he had purchased with money he had stolen from his own mother. Day 14. Florence, Italy. Richard called me at 6:00 in the morning. What's going on with Mom's bank? My card got declined twice. I held the phone against my ear and looked out Hazel's kitchen window. The mailbox was empty. Loretta was watering her porch plants. I don't know, Dad. Have you tried calling the bank? Of course I tried. They said my authorization has been suspended. That makes no sense. That does sound strange. He waited for me to say more. I let the silence sit. Joanna, I manage her finances. I need access. Maybe there's a system error. Banks make mistakes. He hung up 20 minutes later. He called Hazel. She looked at the phone ringing on the counter. She did not pick up. He called 3 more times. She let each call go to voicemail. Diane called me that afternoon. Her voice was tight, the way it gets when she is trying to sound casual but is not. Is something wrong with Mom? She's not picking up. Grandma's fine. She's resting. Richard says his card got declined. He thinks something happened with the bank. I don't know anything about that. There was a pause. Joanna, if you did something. Deanne, I'm making dinner. I'll talk to you later. That evening, Richard texted. The tone was different now. No more worried son. No more confused account holder. This is ridiculous. I am the authorized signer. I need that access restored immediately. I read the text and felt nothing. He managed my grandmother's finances the way a fox manages a henhouse, with full access and zero accountability. Then his last text of the night. I'm coming home early. Booked a flight for Tuesday. If someone in your family is the only one with access to an elderly parent's money and they get angry when you ask questions, trust that instinct. You are not paranoid. They are counting on your silence. Day 17. Richard's truck pulled into Hazel's driveway at 2:00 in the afternoon. He was unshaved, wrinkled jacket. The tan from Rome made the circles under his eyes look darker. He knocked once, then opened the door without waiting. "Mom, we need to talk about the bank." I was the one standing in the hallway. "Come in, Dad." He looked past me toward the kitchen. The table was covered, organized folders with colored tabs, a laptop open to a spreadsheet. The bank printout, now 3 pages long, pinned under a coffee mug. "What is this?" "Sit down." Did not sit. He stepped closer. "What did you do, Joanna?" "Grandma asked me to help." "Help with what? This is none of your business. Her finances are my responsibility." "Grandma's finances are Grandma's responsibility, and she is right here." Hazel appeared in the hallway. She was wearing her house dress and her reading glasses. She held a cup of tea. She looked at Richard the way you look at weather, something you accept but do not negotiate with. "Richard, sit down." He sat. His hands were flat on the table. His jaw was tight. He kept looking at the folders like they might disappear if he stared hard enough. I did not mention the emails. I did not mention Marcus Webb. I did not lay out the evidence, not yet. "Dad, Grandma wants to understand her accounts. Can you walk us through the withdrawals?" He straightened. "I don't have to explain anything. I have power of attorney." One beat. I let the word land. The color left his face. It was not slow. It was not gradual. It was instant, like someone had pulled a plug. "What do you mean had?" "The court granted an emergency order," I said. "Power of attorney has been suspended pending judicial review." Richard stood up so fast his chair scraped the linoleum. "You went to court behind my back." I stayed seated. "You took over $140,000 from a 74-year-old woman behind hers." "That is not. I was managing." "You were managing it the way you managed her plane ticket, Dad." His face shifted, anger first, then something slower. The realization that the ground had moved and he had not felt it. "Mom," he turned to Hazel, "tell her to stop this. I was protecting your money. I moved it because the interest rates were." "Richard." Hazel set her tea on the counter. "I have seen the bank statements, all of them." "Mom, you don't understand how these accounts work." "I understand that I had $212,005 years ago and now I have 41,000. He went quiet. The refrigerator hummed. The furnace clicked on down the hall. "I can explain every transaction." "You can explain them to Marcus Webb," I said. "Our attorney." The word landed, attorney. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Attorney." "Mom, you don't need a lawyer. I'm your son." Hazel did not flinch. "A son who forgot my plane ticket." Silence. The kind that fills a room like water. Richard picked up his jacket from the back of the chair. He did not look at the folders. He did not look at the bank printout. He did not look at me. He walked to the front door and slammed it hard enough to rattle the cast iron skillet on its hook. Through the window, I watched his truck back out of the driveway. He was on the phone before he reached the street. The next morning, Diane called from Paris. The rest of the family was still there, 3 days left on the trip. "Joe, what is happening? Richard is losing his mind. He says you hired a lawyer." "Did you know he was taking Grandma's money?" Silence. Not the kind that means surprise. The kind that means calculation. He was managing things. Mom doesn't understand finances at that level. He took over $140,000. "Deanne, did you know?" Another pause. "Look, Richard handles the family accounts. Whatever he did, I wasn't part of it. The bank records show a $25,000 transfer to your account 2 years ago labeled home renovation. Was that also managing Mom's money?" Her breath caught. "That was different." "Richard said Mom wanted to help with my kitchen." "Did you ask Mom?" "Nothing." "Did you?" "Nothing." She hung up. I set the phone on the counter and looked at the ceiling. And for a moment, a brief unwanted moment, I remembered Diane at family Christmases when I was a child. She always sat at the edge. Hazel would be in the kitchen with Richard helping him with the turkey, laughing at his jokes. Diane would be in the living room folding napkins nobody asked her to fold. Once when she was maybe 40, I heard her say to Greg, "Mom always preferred Richard, even when he didn't deserve it." I understood the wound. I did not forgive the theft. Those are 2 different things, and confusing them is how people talk themselves into excusing what should never be excused. 2 hours later, Loretta texted me a screenshot she had taken from Diane's Facebook. A post hastily deleted. "Family is complicated." Sometimes the people who judge you the hardest are the ones who never had to struggle. I saved the screenshot and I went back to work. Day 19. Marcus Webb's office. He had cleared his afternoon. The yellow legal pad was full. He pushed his glasses up and laid out the strategy like a blueprint. POA revocation granted. Emergency order already in effect. Civil suit filed. Demand for return of $140,000 in misappropriated funds plus legal costs. Adult Protective Services notified. Case investigator assigned. Investigation opened. Life insurance beneficiary change flagged as potential fraud. Hazel never authorized the modification. We have her sworn statement. He turned to Hazel. When does the rest of your family return from Europe? 4 days, she said. I would like to be present when you speak with them, all of them together. Hazel looked at her hands. You want to do this in my house? Your house, Mrs. Farrell, your table. Your rules, she nodded. Then we do it in the dining room. Prepared a binder. Bank statements organized by year, email printouts highlighted in yellow, the forgot your ticket chain, the business class upgrades, the she won't even notice line, POA document with sticky note flags on every relevant clause, court orders in clear sleeves, a timeline he had built on a single sheet, 5 years of withdrawals plotted against dates and excuses. He closed the binder and handed it to Hazel. She held it against her chest with both arms, the way you hold something that protects you. Mrs. Farrell, you don't have to say a word during that meeting. That's what I'm here for. She looked at him, then at me. I know, she said, but I have something to say. Drove home in the dark. Hazel held the binder on her lap the entire way. She did not open it. Days 19 and 20 were quiet. The kind of quiet that settles into a house when 2 people are waiting for something they cannot take back. Mornings, we made breakfast together. Hazel taught me her cornbread recipe. 2 cups cornmeal, 1 cup flour. Don't let the oils smoke. And for the love of everything, don't open the oven before 25 minutes. Afternoons, we walked to Loretta's mailbox and back. Hazel moved slowly with her cane, but she did not stop. She told me stories about Earl, how they met at a VFW dance in 1970, how he proposed with a ring made from a bent quarter because he could not afford a real one, how he burned the toast every single morning for 40 years and never once tried to improve. I don't hate Richard, she said on the second walk. The air was cold enough to see her breath. That is what makes this hard. I hate what he did, but I raised him. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. She looked at me. That is what your grandpa used to say, word for word. The porch that evening, she asked how I had noticed the discrepancies, the missing mail, the low thermostat, the empty fridge. Grandma, I work with elderly patients every day. I notice when someone is living below their means. I notice when mail goes missing. I notice when the thermostat is set 20 degrees lower than it should be. I looked at her. I notice everything. That is my job. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Day 20. Richard left a voicemail. His voice was flat, controlled, performing calm. Mom, I'm coming home Tuesday. We need to talk, just the 2 of us. Hazel played the message once and deleted it. The night before the family returned, I could not sleep. I lay in the guest bed and stared at the ceiling. The furnace kicked on and off. Down the hall, Hazel's bedroom was dark. Outside, Loretta's porch light flickered. I had used 2 weeks of paid time off. My supervisor had texted that afternoon. No rush, your patients are covered. She did not ask for details. She did not need to. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Richard, 2 from Diane, 1 from Brenda. Her message was careful, rehearsed. Joanna, please call me. This is getting out of hand. We can work this out as a family. I set the phone on the nightstand and pressed my palms against my eyes. This was my father. The man who taught me to ride a bicycle in the driveway of this house. The man who drove me to nursing school orientation at the University of Tennessee and helped me carry my boxes up 3 flights of stairs. The man who cried at my graduation and told me he was proud of me. The man who stole $140,000 from his own mother and left her standing at an airport gate with an empty suitcase and a fake itinerary. People ask me if I felt betrayed. The truth is simpler and worse. I had been watching elderly patients get exploited by family members for 7 years. I knew the playbook. I recognized the patterns: the redirected mail, the broad POA, the isolation, the lifestyle gap. What I did not know was how much it would hurt when the perpetrator shared my last name. I did not cry. I opened my laptop. I reviewed Marcus' timeline one more time. Every date, every dollar, every lie. Tuesday morning, 7 sharp. Marcus Webb's gray Volvo pulled into the driveway. Marcus arrived carrying a leather briefcase and a calm that filled the room. He set the evidence binder on Hazel's dining table and straightened his tie. I arranged the chairs, 6 around the table. Marcus at the head, Hazel to his right, me beside Hazel. 3 chairs across the table for Richard, Diane, Brenda. The same table where Hazel had hosted Thanksgiving for 30 years. The same table where my dad had stood with his glass raised and announced the Europe trip that was never meant to include his mother. Hazel came out of her bedroom in her church blouse, cream with small pearl buttons. She wore her pearl earrings. She had pressed her slacks and combed her hair back the way she always did for occasions. "If we are doing this," she said, "I am going to look like myself." I straightened the folders on the table. Bank statements tabbed by year 2021 through 2025, emails printed and highlighted, the POA document with sticky note flags, the fake itinerary next to the real booking receipt. Marcus' timeline spread across the center like a map. Hazel sat in her chair and folded her hands. Marcus opened his briefcase and placed a pen beside his legal pad. "Mrs. Farrell," he said, "when your son walks in, you do not have to say anything. That is what I am here for." She looked at him steadily. "I know, but I have something to say." The coffee maker beeped. I poured 3 cups, set them on the table. The house smelled normal: coffee, old wood, the faint lavender of Hazel's linen spray. Normal and familiar and completely irreversible. At 9:47, Richard's truck pulled into the driveway. Diane's rental was right behind him. Richard came through the door first. He was tan, new jacket, loafers that looked like they had been purchased somewhere between Florence and London. He saw Marcus at the table and stopped in the doorway. "Who is this?" "Sit down, Dad." Diane came in behind him. She was carrying her purse in both hands close to her body. She saw the folders on the table and the color drained from her neck upward. The way a tide rises in reverse, Brenda followed. She looked at me, then at Marcus, then at the table full of documents. Her mouth opened, but no words came. "Grandma invited you here," I said. "Please sit." Richard did not move. "I am not sitting down until someone tells me who this man is." Marcus stood. He buttoned his jacket with one hand and extended the other. "Marcus Webb. I represent your mother, Hazel Farrell, in the matter of financial exploitation and breach of fiduciary duty." Richard did not shake his hand. His arm dropped to his side. "This is insane, Mom." "Sit down, Richard." Hazel's voice was not loud. It was level. The same voice she had used for 34 years in a 3rd-grade classroom when children would not listen. He sat. Diane sat. Brenda sat. The room was silent except for the refrigerator and the slow tick of the clock on the wall above the stove. 6 people at a table. 3 coffee cups. 1 evidence binder. Marcus picked up his pen. He opened the binder to the first tab. The room smelled like coffee and lavender and the quiet inevitability of something that had been coming for 5 years. Marcus opened the binder. On March 12, 2021, Mrs. Farrell granted power of attorney to Richard Allen Farrell. Marcus' voice was flat, professional, the kind of voice that does not need to raise itself to be heard. He turned the pages year by year, line by line. 2021, $18,000 categorized as home maintenance. "Mrs. Farrell, were any home repairs conducted that year?" "No," Hazel said. 2022, $31,000 categorized as medical expenses. "My insurance covered everything," Hazel said. 2023, $27,000 categorized as investment management. Marcus looked at Richard. "Mr. Farrell, can you provide documentation of any investment account opened in your mother's name?" Richard said nothing. 2024, $34,000. This includes a $25,000 transfer to Diane Mitchell's personal account, categorized as home renovation. Diane looked at the table, her fingers curled around the edge of her purse strap. 2025, $30,000 categorized as travel fund, Marcus paused. This is the amount Mrs. Farrell contributed toward the family trip to Europe, the trip from which she was excluded at the airport. He placed the fake itinerary on the left side of the table. Beside it, the real booking receipt. This is what Mrs. Farrell received. He tapped the itinerary. No booking reference, no confirmation number, designed to look like a ticket that never existed. He tapped the receipt. This is what was actually booked. 3 business-class seats at $4,200 each charged to Mrs. Farrell's savings account ending in 7841. He looked up. Total misappropriated over 5 years, approximately $140,000. Richard's face had gone from red to white. His hands were flat on the table. His knuckles were the same color as the tablecloth. Diane had not looked up since the $25,000. Marcus turned to the next tab. I would like to enter into record 2 email communications. Richard shifted in his chair. Those are private. They are evidence, Mr. Farrell. Marcus read aloud. His voice stayed even. Email from Richard Farrell to Diane Mitchell. Subject, trip logistics. Second paragraph, he paused, looked at the page, then at Richard. Don't book Mom's ticket. Tell her we'll handle it. She won't even notice the money's gone. The room went still. The clock ticked. Brenda's hand went to her mouth. She won't even notice the money's gone. I spoke for the first time since the presentation had begun. I kept my voice low, steady. The same voice I use at the hospital when I am telling a family something they do not want to hear. You told her you forgot, but you never bought the ticket. You planned to leave her at that gate from the beginning. Richard's jaw tightened. That is not. She was not going to enjoy it. Brenda grabbed his arm. Richard, stop talking. Diane looked up. I did not write that email. Marcus turned a page. You are listed as a recipient, Ms. Mitchell, and you responded. He read, got it. I will tell her we are handling everything. Diane closed her eyes. Hazel had not spoken since the beginning of the presentation. She sat with her hands folded. Her back was straight. Her pearl earrings caught the overhead light. She watched Marcus the way you watch someone doing careful, necessary work. Richard was leaning forward now, elbows on the table, head down. The tan looked wrong on him. Golden skin stretched over a man who was falling apart. Marcus was not done. Richard looked up. His eyes were wet, not from remorse, from exposure. Mom, I was trying to help you. That money was going to waste sitting in that account. Marcus did not let it land. Going to waste in a retirement savings account earning interest while your mother set her thermostat to 62 degrees in December to save on utilities. Richard stood. The chair scraped backward. This is entrapment. You went through my email. That is illegal. The email was accessed on a computer owned by your mother, logged into an account you configured under her credentials. The court will determine accessibility. Richard turned to me. His voice cracked, not breaking, splintering. You did this. You turned Mom against me. I sat still. Grandma is right here, Dad. She has been here the entire time. You just stopped seeing her. He paced, 2 steps to the window, 2 steps back. I was managing everything, the house, the bills, the insurance. You changed her life insurance beneficiary to yourself 18 months ago, Marcus said, without her knowledge or consent. That stopped him. Brenda spoke for the first time. Her voice was thin. Can we settle this without court? What if we give the money back? Restitution will be discussed with the court, Marcus said. Adult Protective Services has been notified and has opened an investigation. Richard's voice dropped. You called APS on your own father. I looked at him. I called APS on someone who exploited a vulnerable adult. That is what I do. I do it at work. I do it here. There is no version of this where family is an exception. He stood in the middle of the room, hands at his sides. The jacket from Italy hung wrong on him now. Marcus turned to Hazel. He nodded once, gently, and set his pen down. Hazel unfolded her hands. She placed them flat on the table the way she had placed them on the Thanksgiving tablecloth 10 months ago when Richard announced the trip that was never meant to include her. She looked at her son. I saved that money for 22 years. Every paycheck. Every summer I did not take a vacation. Every Christmas I bought myself one present so I could put the rest away. Her voice was not shaking. It was not raised. It was the steadiest voice in the room. I signed that paper because you said you wanted to help, and I believed you because you are my son, because a mother should not have to check behind her own child. She paused. I do not want you in jail. I do not want to never see you again, but I want my name on my own accounts. I want my mail coming to my own mailbox, and I want you to understand something. She leaned forward just slightly, just enough. What you did to me at that airport in front of our entire family. That is the moment I stopped trusting you. She repeated his words back to him slowly, clearly. I forgot your ticket, just go home. She shook her head. You did not forget anything, you just thought I would not matter enough for anyone to stay. She looked at me. But someone stayed. Richard did not move. His eyes were wet. He was not crying. He was somewhere past crying, the place where the body recognizes damage before the mind admits it. Diane spoke softly. Mom, I am sorry. Hazel turned to her. I will believe that when you return the $25,000, Diane. Diane closed her mouth and did not open it again. Marcus straightened his papers. The court hearing is scheduled in 9 days. You will each be served. Richard stood. He buttoned his jacket, professional habit, the mask sliding back on the way a curtain falls, automatic, mechanical, hiding nothing. Mom, this is not over. Hazel looked at him. No, it is not. That is the point. Walked out. Brenda followed. She did not look at me. She did not look at Hazel. She kept her eyes forward and her purse close, and she walked to the truck like she was leaving a building that was on fire. Diane paused at the door. She turned halfway back. Joe, I waited. Tell Mom she stopped. Her lip pressed together. Whatever she wanted to say stayed behind her teeth. She turned and left, the door closed. Marcus packed his briefcase with the same calm he had brought with him. He clicked the latches and stood. Mrs. Farrell, you were remarkable in there. Hazel looked at him. I was honest. That is not the same thing. He shook my hand. I will be in touch before the hearing. The Volvo pulled out of the driveway. The street was empty. The Christmas lights on the neighbor's house blinked red and green in the gray afternoon. Hazel and I sat in the dining room. The coffee cups were still on the table. The binder was still open to the last page. I thought I would feel better, Hazel said. Do you? She considered this. Feel lighter. That is different from better, but I will take it. She stood, walked to the kitchen, took the cast iron skillet down from its hook. Are you hungry? I think I need to make something. I followed her and we cooked. 2 months later, the court ruled. Power of attorney permanently revoked. Richard Allen Farrell was ordered to repay $140,000 through a structured payment plan over 5 years. The court imposed a lien on his personal assets to secure the obligation. Diane was ordered to return the $25,000 she had received. Adult Protective Services substantiated the investigation. Richard was flagged for elder financial exploitation under Tennessee Code 716117. Hazel declined to pursue criminal charges. The record would follow him regardless. A life insurance beneficiary was restored to its original designation, split evenly between a scholarship fund at Mville Elementary, where Hazel had taught for 34 years, and me. Richard sold his boat and a timeshare in Pigeon Forge to begin the first installment. He and Brenda moved to a smaller house in a subdivision on the other side of Knoxville. They have not spoken to me since the hearing. I do not expect them to. Diane mailed a cashier's check for $25,000. No note, no card, no phone call. The envelope had a Nashville return address. That is the last I heard from her. Hazel's house looks different now. New gutters, new porch railing. The kitchen faucet no longer drips. The thermostat is set to 72. The fridge is full. Milk, eggs, butter. The good cheese, she used to say, was too expensive. She goes to Cracker Barrel with the church ladies every Friday again. Loretta brings a casserole every Sunday. She says Hazel looks 10 years younger. Hazel says she feels 10 years younger. Turns out betrayal ages you and truth takes it back. I drive to Mville every Saturday, 45 minutes each way. I do not mind. Earl's leather suitcase sits in the hallway closet now. Inside it are 2 plane tickets to Paris. Hazel and me, October. I want to see the Eiffel Tower at night, she told me. Earl always said it looks like it is breathing. Saturday afternoon, Hazel's kitchen. The cast iron skillet is on the stove. Cornbread batter in a bowl. She measures the cornmeal the same way she has for 50 years, 2 cups leveled with a butter knife. Your grandpa bought this at a flea market in 1973. She says it every time, and every time I listen like it is the first. People tell me I was brave. I do not think staying was brave. I think leaving would have been easy. Staying was just what was right. That is my story. 1 torn boarding pass, 1 cast iron skillet, and 3 weeks that changed everything. If someone you love needs you to stay, stay. Share this video, hit subscribe. I will see you in the next one.